Othello Smith. We will miss him greatly. On behalf of the entire PCC staff, we extend our heartfelt condolences to his family, friends, and of course, to all of us who had the honor of serving alongside him. At this moment, we would like to have a moment of silence in his remembrance. Thank you. Thank you for taking the moment of silence in his memory. And also, I'd just like to open it up right now to any type of general comment that anybody on the board would like to make about this item.
This is Debbie Toth. I want to say that I think 23 years in the industry, and oftentimes I don't feel like there's a lot left to learn. And he definitely, just one little tiny example, I get very focused, I think, on the people we serve at Choice and Aging, and I don't think about people outside of that realm. And he brought to this Paratransit Coordinating Council that he couldn't get to church on Sundays because there was no fixed route, therefore there was no paratransit matching that. And just thinking beyond our everyday, I think what that taught me was stop thinking about just this tiny little nugget, but think about things in a much more broader context, because there are lots of different people that are impacted in different ways. And when we think about solutions, we need to think more globally. So when I think about accessibility for all, I think about it in a much more broad context because of him.
Anybody else that would like to make a comment? I would just like to say thank you. It was wonderful getting to know him when I first came on. He came, when I had my first meeting, he came over right away, you know, and welcomed me. And I am still new, but I was very, very new. I was a month into doing a transportation program. So he was just really, really amazing. Then I had the honor of serving on him with the claim forms, the review committee, and he was wonderful then. He's always so gracious, but not letting anybody off the hook. And I think that is an incredibly unique quality. He encouraged you to do the best that you could do. And yeah, just that incredibly unique quality to watch that. And he hardly ever said no to anything that was asked of him, which I think shows what kind of human being he was, why he was on this committee to begin with. And so for the short time that I did know him, I am so thankful and so grateful. Thank you.
I feel like I should say something.
Okay, please.
To try to get through it. Hello started out doing our appeals panels. He was one of our writers, and I got to know him and his wife Beverly pretty well. We would ride the paratransit bus to come to these meetings, so we had a lot of talking time. I would get in the bus and we would go pick him up. And he was a friend. He would text me often. His wife would text me often, almost every holiday. They're just great people. And I loved having him on the appeals panel. He never said no. He enjoyed doing it. I would even get special snacks and his coffee and things like that when they would get there. And always level-headed, so intelligent, and just an amazing man. I can't say enough about him, so he will be greatly missed.
Thank you. So we ask now, give your attention to this short video.
This meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar to allow for public participation and comments. The Contra Costa Transportation Authority does not condone hate speech in any form. We continually strive to make life better for all members of our community and create an atmosphere where everyone feels a sense of safety and belonging. We ask that anyone who wishes to speak does so with civility, respect, and kindness for others. Public speakers will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The chair will call upon public speakers at the appropriate time. Each public speaker is requested to state their name and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Public speakers who wish to speak in person should submit a public speaker card to the clerk. Public speakers participating by Zoom who are wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice on the meeting agenda will be provided to the members. If authors of any written correspondence would like to speak during the meeting, they should raise their hand or submit a public speaker card. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Deanna, do we have any written public comments?
We do not have any written public comment.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak during public comment that is, speak during public comment on an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please raise your virtual hand.
We have one public comment.
Okay, great.
Yeah, this is Jim Donnelly, representing the Senior Mobility Action Council. Wanted to let you know I'm on the call. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more? Have we received any in-person comment requests or remote?
We have not received any remote or in comment public requests. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that concludes our public comment item. The next item on the agenda is our consent calendar, which is a summary of actions from April 24th, 2025. Oh, that, roll call. Let's do roll call. Shall we do roll call? Go ahead.
Member Birdwell,
I'm here.
Member Cooney,
Here.
Member Dalgelli, Member Green Roselle, Member Ibarra, Member Nestor Brush,
Present.
Member Sanderson,
Here.
Member Perry,
Here.
Member Sanders,
Present.
Member Thompson, Member Toth,
Here.
Vice Chair Clark,
Here.
and we have a quorum with Birdwell, Dalgelli, Green Roselle, Ibarra, and Thompson absent. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to our consent calendar. Are there any changes or comments from the committee?
I have a comment.
Yes.
So I'm from El Cerrito. I unfortunately was unable to attend the special meeting in July, but I would like to kind of pull this item for discussion. The El Cerrito in the minutes from this, and it looks like it was discussed as not being in compliance with the claim forms that were sent in. And I would like to have a little more information as to why. In the claim that we sent and what was accepted in 2024, we had projected and exceeded most of our, like the passenger boardings, the number of trips, the service hours. So I don't believe that the statement that El Cerrito's out of compliance as far as what we're operating as opposed to the claim form that we were and the performance indicators that we were being held to. We exceeded those. We did not fall short. And so I believe that the agenda item that was sent to WICTAC to the board members stating that El Cerrito is out of compliance is not an actual accurate reflection of what was submitted. And so I would just like for that to, be corrected and to go on record that if in fact there are different performance indicators that were being held, standards that were being held to that we were not aware of, I would like to know what those are. Otherwise, I would like to have it updated to show that we are in fact in compliance based upon our claim form that had been accepted for 25 and the information that was submitted.
Thank you. Are we reviewing that at all? Or reviewing that now?
Like, when do we want to have the conversation about Claim 15?
Right, yeah.
I don't think we have it on the agenda otherwise, so if you want to, I think it's okay to talk about now.
You want to, so we can do that in comments now in response to the consent calendar?
Is that normal?
Yeah, it can be pulled for discussion.
Okay, great. So we will pull that item and have that discussion? Great, okay.
Maybe I'll let the Claim 15 subcommittee, if you guys
That-
want
yeah, next
to
I'd-
explain a little bit more about what it meant.
Yes, absolutely. Member Sanderson.
I actually, I had a clarifying question, I guess, for authority staff about something Member Cooney just brought up about the WICTAC staff report. That was news to me. So I don't know what was presented to WICTAC, but I'd be very interested to see it or understand how our discussions here were phrased in that report, or something like that. I don't know if there's something there or where that report came from.
I'm also not aware of where that came from, besides what we documented in our notes from the last meeting of just showing that there was going to be further conversation and meeting to get into compliance.
So there was a WICTAC meeting, I believe, on June 27th, and there was an agenda bill. And in the agenda bill, it said, recently El Cerrito experienced staff turnover, and there are currently no drivers for the program, which is not accurate. And so we, at El Cerrito, got some of the board members, one of our city council members serves on the WICTAC board. We had many concerned people asking kind of what was going on, but the agenda bill that they received was that we were not in compliance, and that we were not operating up to standard. So
And it doesn't say who provided that?
it was a WICTAC agenda bill. I don't know. I would have to look a little bit more. But it was, yeah, I'll look back and see if I can get it. I can send it to you all.
Or we can, yeah, we
Or
can
you
see.
can see it. I'd have to look it up again.
I mean, our minutes are public, right?
Yes.
Are they made public before we approve them in a consent calendar?
I mean, the video is posted on YouTube, so someone could
Okay.
watch and see our conversation, which showed that you were voted to be approved contingent on getting some additional answers and clarifications to get into compliance. That was all.
Right.
Okay. So it seems like WICTAC maybe got some,
I think
Member Sanderson.
for myself, I guess for the future committee, whoever they happen to be, the subcommittee on claim review, thank you, Jean. I think a better understanding of where that subcommittee's work fits in the claim approval process might be also kind of helpful. My understanding was essentially that the fact that the PCC had voted to approve was going to be presented to the 2CTA planning committee, I believe, and then directly to the authority board. It makes sense that there would be this WICTAC step, but it's not something that was like discussed as next steps in the process. So I wasn't aware of it myself. And just content aside, on a professional level, I'm sorry to have put you through that.
Just want to get it clarified.
Timing-wise, it was approved by the CCTA board last week. So that would have been, would have started potentially a next step, but it didn't.
So yeah, there's an apology there, absolutely. And I think what we're saying is that we weren't ready to move forward with an official, right? There was a next step, which was today, before an actual ever decision was gonna be made. So it seems like, and that's something that, we can look into to see, because that was definitely, sounds like it was a jump the gun and a misinformation that was reported. So sorry about that, absolutely. I think the next step, though, was, again, this body approved in the minutes, this body approved it based on receiving more information before this meeting, and so I'll let the committee comment on that. Member Sanders?
Some of the information that we received apparently was incorrect. So there was an issue with regard to reporting on behalf of the city. That having been corrected, we took remedial steps today, and the application has been approved. Part of the problem, frankly, just to let everyone, and I think we're all best off with it if everyone understands, part of the problem, at least from this committee member's perspective, is that we need some standards to apply to the judgments that the claim reviewing committee will make in connection with the applications from all jurisdictions. And I hope that this group will, somewhere along the line, work on those standards. We also need some measure of education as to how the various jurisdictions that benefit from the Measure J funds work both individually and together, and whether or not we can assist, offer any assistance to improve the way they work together. But I hope that that answers your question and your concerns.
Do we have any other comments from the committee?
Yeah, I think I'm very comfortable with the application as it currently stands. I think there were some points of clarification that were included in the email that I found kind of helpful. We've already talked to a certain extent about this year in particular, because of reasons beyond anybody's control related to staff turnover and various things going on. The process itself was a little sort of discombobulated and rushed. And I think partially as a result of that, the materials that we were given to review were kind of all over the place, felt like to me. And I think, to Member Sanders' point, yeah, having a more formally agreed upon basis to compare things on an apples to apples level for next year and points forward would be really useful, where this year it was kind of, you get what you get and look at it and say, like, does this kind of make sense? Maybe. And for the most part, it did. I will say with El Cerrito, I went into the interview with questions, and then I came out of the interview with a bit of a takeaway that service had been interrupted due to lack of drivers. That was just my sense of what we got from the conversation. Glad to hear that's not the case, but that's, I think, where our concern mostly came from. And again, with the additional info that's provided, I'm completely satisfied with it.
Okay, so that is the consent calendar, having pulled that piece of information, with the discussion being and finalizing was what we asked for last meeting has been provided by this meeting, so that the subcommittee recommends absolutely approving and moving forward with full funding with no other issues. Is that how I'm summarizing? Okay. Great, so we'll go from there, and thank you so much for coming in and bringing that up to our attention and bringing up those other things. It's important for us to know, so I appreciate that. So now we'll go on with The consent calendar, we did have that one comment, we pulled that. Are there any other comments about issues on the consent calendar that anybody wants to pull? Okay, so then we will go ahead and, excuse me, Deanna, do we have any comments about our consent calendar, written in person or remote?
We do not have any written in person or remote, thank you.
Okay, great. So I would like to motion, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Nestor Brush moves,
Second.
second by Sanderson. Thank you so much. And Deanna, once you're ready, we'll have a roll call.
Okay, Member Birdwell? Member Cooney?
Yes.
Member Del Jelly? Member Green Roselle? Member Ibarra? Member Nestor Brush?
Yes.
Member Perry?
Yes.
Member Sanderson?
Aye.
Member Sanders?
Yes.
Member Thompson? Member Toth?
Yes.
Chair Clark?
Aye.
And motion passes unanimously with Birdwell, Del Jelly, Green Roselle, Ibarra, and Thompson absent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Birdwell.
Not today. All right, thank you. We'll move on to the one regular agenda item. This item is an informational item, will be introduced by Danielle Elkins and presented by Metropolitan Transportation Committee on the Transit Transformation Action Plan, Plan 21, designation of a mobility manager in Contra Costa County.
All right, I'd like to welcome Brennan Shelton to our committee meeting today. She is going to be talking about action number 21 from the Transportive Action Plan that is going to be potentially designating a mobility manager for each county. And hopefully this can be a discussion and a conversation about what role we want this to look like in Contra Costa County and a little more about this action.
Thanks for having me. I am Brennan Shelton from MTC, and I am thrilled to be with you today, but also I want to point out that John Sanderson, a member of your committee, helped with this work on a mammoth scale. So I always like to give him credit. So we will be talking a little bit about one of the initiatives under the Transformation Action Plan. Our work here is to designate a mobility manager in each of the counties within our region. This work came out of the Blue Ribbon Task Force back in 2020 and was put into the Transformation Action Plan in order to have a more user-friendly system, a more comprehensive, user-friendly transit system. So we can dive in to, there we go. So what are we talking about when we say mobility management? It's a way of organizing transportation services for older adults, people with disabilities, and low-income populations for their use to be, more easily accessed, to learn about all of their transportation options. And so by coordinating the services for those populations, a mobility manager can tailor options and connect people to the most appropriate or cost-effective or accessible transportation option for them. And so when we talk about mobility management, it can get tricky because people often wonder, are you talking about a person? Are you talking about an organization? And we're kind of talking about all of it, but today we're talking about the entity that will oversee mobility management functions for Contra Costa County. So that could be a nonprofit, it can be a transit agency, it can be a transportation authority, or any other government agency. And mobility management itself covers a wide variety of activities, including travel training, coordinating services between different providers, providing information and referral services to the public, but also trip planning, so a more intimate one-on-one service for riders, and then also service development for gaps that exist in the county. And so mobility management across our region has been a long-held goal. We have been making this a policy recommendation officially since 2007. Yep. And mobility management does exist in every county, but not to the extent that we would want it to be. And not every county has an officially recognized mobility manager. So we want to make sure that we're not just designating a mobility manager, but that we're coordinating within the county, that we're coordinating across the counties, and we're coordinating with transit, which is absolutely essential. Mobility management does not work unless transit is intimately involved with its functions. And so with that, we want to make sure we're providing a universal set of best practices and standards. We want to give a framework of accountability measures, but we also want to make sure that there's local decision-making and ensure that all of the existing mobility management functions that exist are coordinated locally and countywide. I think I keep going backwards. Okay. So there are 4 essential functions that we are requiring for mobility management. We want to make sure first that information referral services exist where outreach is conducted to riders and to transportation providers, where riders are referred to eligible transportation services, and where there is a centralized one-call, one-click resource. The second function we have here is that there is countywide travel training. The third one we have listed here is that mobility management works within the ADA eligibility process. It does not do eligibility, but it works with the eligibility process. And the fourth one is to set out expectations for coordination with transportation providers within the county, also across county lines. We want to lay out expectations around semi-annual reporting to the county paratransit coordinating councils, or whatever they're called.
Yes.
Okay, so, we want to do questions? Okay.
Is it okay to interrupt you while you're presenting, or would you prefer I hold my questions?
No, we can do either.
Okay. So on the third quadrant, work with the ADA eligibility process.
Mhm.
So might that be something where a mobility manager might coordinate the use of one particular form, working with the transit providers to create that one eligibility process and form? Like, might that be something they do?
Well, that's already happened on a regional level, and we're working to implement that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so how are we going to get there, really is the question. So first, we intend to have countywide forums, each county, to bring all the relevant stakeholders together to discuss which entity would be the most appropriate to take on this role. And then once consensus is reached, that entity would officially apply to MTC for that designation. And then MTC has a formal public process where we notify all of the stakeholders. There's sort of a public comment period, and then it goes through, the MTC designation process. And then we're looking to make initial designations for a period of 3 years to begin with. And one of the things we've heard from stakeholders is that we want to make sure that these designations build in accountability measures for which the mobility management entity is assessed against. So we think it's really important to have semi-annual reports made to the PCCs and to MTC. And we want to make sure that the mobility manager is not just coordinating within the county, and I keep repeating myself, but it's important that they're also coordinating regionally. So it's an important thing. I think instead of, 20 different entities trying to coordinate around the region, we'll have 9. And we already do have a regional mobility management working group that exists for that purpose. So our timeline here, we're looking to start scheduling those countywide forums pretty soon. And we have 9 to do, so we'll be looking to go into the fall and maybe the winter. And then by spring of this next calendar year, we'd like all those designations to be wrapped up. We want to know who our mobility managers are going to be. And then MTC and the PCCs, the Paratransit Coordinating Councils, can establish periods of reporting and assessments of the mobility managers. And then that's all I have on the presentation. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Member Nestor Brush.
Thanks, Ronan, for your presentation. Quick check, is there funding set aside to pay for these mobility managers?
There is not currently funding set aside for this function. One of the first and best places, though, that I would say mobility management funding can come from is OBAG, and there's a new cycle of OBAG that's going to be coming out fairly soon in the next calendar year. And then there's also 5310 funding that we have available, and there's one of the main sources for mobility management besides local funds that's used across our region now.
Member Toth.
Thank you. So you mentioned 5310 funding. That funding is open currently for applications. Will be closing in less than a month, if I'm not mistaken.
September 3rd.
September 3rd, okay, more than a month. But should the county want to get in on that opportunity, this county would have to identify the mobility manager before this whole process happens. So there's not really an opportunity for 5310 funding in this cycle. Is that what I'm hearing, or?
I don't think you need to have the designation process for an entity to apply for the funding. I don't think that's a necessary step first.
So that's something theoretically we could do as a county?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would encourage it as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why, thank you.
And I'm happy to work with all of you locally on your 5310 applications.
Anyone else? Well, thank you so much for that. This is exciting yet trepidatious, because as you said, we've been talking about it and talking about it and recommending and talking about it, and now it seems it's hitting the ground. So that's wonderful to hear. Thanks. Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this subject? Please raise your hand or your virtual hand.
We do not have any written, public, or virtual comment.
Okay, there you go. So then that concludes our regular agenda items. Thank you. We have reports, East Bay Paratransit Access Committee.
Thank you, Mallory Brush, AC Transit. We had a meeting on July 1st with our EPAC group, and very light agenda given the holiday. Broker, of course, reports out on performance indicators from current quarter and previous quarter. But I think the most telling thing and the best story to come out of this, we award Driver of the Month. We have 5 sub-providers, and this individual, we were making a transfer in Pinole with WestCat. A client had lost consciousness on the WestCat vehicle. Our driver went in and started CPR on this individual until the EMTs got there. She was transported, survived, and she was actually at our EPAC meeting to meet the driver individually. So I think that's a good tell-all story and how important first aid CPR is in our line of work. So that's my report out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I know, do we have any questions on that? Just a report out? Okay.
Saving a life is sort of the bar.
No, right, right. Okay, so we have Senior Mobility Action Council. I know Jim Donnelly was on the line. I hope Jim Donnelly is still on the line to give us a report. Oh, no. But we moved really fast. Great, thank you, Member Toth.
So, thank you. The Senior Mobility Action Council is really looking at putting together transportation forums, and there's 3 of them that they're looking to do in Central and West and in East County to gather information from riders and educate riders throughout the county. So their work right now is focused on planning these different forums. So there wasn't a lot of other meat other than looking at how to do this and how to do it in a way that it meets and gathers from all members of the county.
Thank you. Any comments, questions on that? Okay, so correspondence and communications, from what I understand, we have none? All right.
We have none.
Okay, so we're going to move on to future agenda items. Are there any topics that members would like to have agendized for future meetings? Member Toth.
I think it looks like we're going to have mobility management on our agenda in the future. And it may be too late to have it as a discussion item, but I think what I heard from Drennan earlier is that we need to strike while the iron is hot if we want Contra Costa to get funding for mobility management. So it may be a good idea, and I don't know if it's an appropriate time to ask for that, but maybe I don't know if we're allowed to have Zoom planning meetings or if they fall under Brown Act requirements or what, but I think that some communication needs to happen around that and some planning needs to happen around that if we want to ensure that an application is submitted prior to our next PCC meeting, because September 3rd will be before our next PCC meeting, right? So how does that get managed if it's, do we have to have a special meeting? Do we, like, what has to happen for us to, I mean, if PCC is the entity that oversees and coordinates, it kind of feels like we need to have some voice in it. So I don't know what that looks like.
So the due date is September 30th, so if we wanted, we would have to.
Oh, third.
Third. Oh, third. So we don't have any meeting before, like, so we don't have an August meeting. So we have to do a special meeting.
So do we have a special meeting? Is that, I'm asking, what do we do? Chair, staff, anyone?
Can we hold a subcommittee meeting for that? On the subcommittee level?
I was like, we did put that into our AAC bylaws, that we have the flexibility to have that conversation at a subcommittee level, which has now been adopted by the board as of last week,
Oh, well, there you go.
which is another.
Have we changed our name then? No, okay. Let's go back to this point, sorry. Member Sanderson.
Yeah, are we not allowed as the PCC still to have ad hoc subcommittees? I thought we were.
And so PCC bylaws allow ad hoc committees also?
They do.
Okay.
So then, I guess my thought would be we need an ad hoc subcommittee to talk about it
In August.
in August.
Should we do that now?
Sure.
Okay. What agencies and who would like to be on? I don't know everybody that's eligible for 5310. Okay, so we have Member Sanderson, Member Toth, Member Perry.
Yes.
That's a good point. If we, how do we need a special meeting for the full PCC to endorse the work of the subcommittee?
Can that be our September meeting?
No.
Before the
Oh,
3rd.
yeah.
It would have to be August. There is no board meeting, though, in August either,
There's
to
not.
finalize it.
A board resolution is required for anyone to apply? So CCTA board resolution for anyone? Their board?
So, am I correct that the applying entity must submit a board resolution with the application? And also, just to put it out there, any potential for multiple applications coming from the same county or that sort of overlap would need to be deconflicted before they're submitted, correct?
I mean, that would be a good idea, and ideally that would happen.
Okay.
It's not necessary.
10-4.
We do have experience in this county, one time where it was magical, where, I don't know if it was MTC that required us to have a coordinated all-county plan so that all of us who submitted 5310 grant applications together worked that year to figure out who was going to ask for how much for what, and it was all submitted with everybody signed on. It's possible is my point, but this is a very short time frame, and so I just want to say, because the 5310 grant, for those who haven't written one, is a massive undertaking, and so that's why I think we need to schedule this meeting, whether it's a special meeting or an ad hoc committee meeting, post haste, so that whoever is going to work on that application, be it one agency, be it 10 agencies, has the proper time to do that and gather their board of directors and all of that fun stuff. It would be ideal if we could get everybody at the same table, because everybody got fully funded for what we asked for that round, because there was that coordination. So
Do we know what agencies in Contra Costa County are applying?
we know who have historically applied for 5310 grants, mobility management and non-mobility management, because those are two separate applications, right? The mobility management goes under capital and the other one goes under operations, or something. I'm making stuff up.
Almost.
Almost.
Mobility management is a capital expense, but
Yeah.
it goes under the expanded category
Yeah.
on the 5310 application.
Yeah, as opposed to the operations, right? So there's two different, or
Operations and mobility management go under expanded, and then
Okay.
vehicles and
Vehicles,
other
that's right,
equipment
go
goes
under
under traditional.
okay.
Yeah.
So we probably have a pretty good sense of who is applying in this county. But I don't think it's a stretch for us, particularly as the PCC, we have somebody from every transit provider on here, right? So at least we know the fixed route transit providers are here. We have CCTA in the room, and many of the sub-recipients, I don't think we have anybody from ARC anymore, but I mean, it's not a big number of people that apply. So I think it's a pretty easy thing for us to send out an email to anybody who's applied in the past, include them on the email distribution list, say, heads up, we're having this meeting to talk about applying as a county for the mobility management function of 5310, or individually, and would like to have a collaborative discussion. The PCC is going to be hosting it. If you'd like to come and speak during public comment, please do. I don't know. I'm just barfing out of my brain, yeah.
I don't know much about 5310 at all, so I don't really have a contribution to that, other than anybody being here will have already, probably at some point, have to have already been on a board agenda to get that on, to get their board applied. Is there anybody here, agency-wise, that knows that you guys are already going to apply for 5310 and you're already ready to put that on your board agenda for August? I mean, I know that.
I mean, I think a lot of boards are dark in August. That's a big part of our challenge anyway.
So I don't know if it's, like I said, is it worth putting a meeting together if people aren't already in that process?
Let me ask two questions and I can answer. Like, I have an executive committee on my board of directors. I'm not a public entity. We're a nonprofit, but I don't have elected officials on my board who go dark, but I can call an executive committee meeting anytime to get a resolution, as other nonprofits, I believe, typically have that in their bylaws as a function. I don't know how it works in the world of government or special districts, so I'll be silent on that matter, but I'm not looking at choice and aging applying, just to be very crystal clear, but I'm just saying that if there were nonprofits, I don't know, does CCTA, is it dark in August? Is there no way to pull together some, I don't know what the story is with that.
We're dark in August, so everything would be September, and I assume it couldn't be like a retroactive board approval.
No, unfortunately, Caltrans is not allowing draft resolutions this cycle.
What's the funding, the cycle of the next round would be if we miss this?
So the funds for this cycle won't become available until at least next year this time, and the next cycle will be announced in 2 years.
How much money are we talking about that exists in the, I think, the regions that are covered in Contra Costa? There's 2 different regions.
It's substantial. I mean, I won't give you an exact figure, but I seem to recall something on the order of, 300, 400, 500,000 over 2 years that went to mobility management in Contra Costa County last cycle.
So it sounds to me, an outreach needs to happen to see if anybody is actually planning to apply for that. Because at this point, to start that process, it doesn't really seem viable. I know for public agencies, our city council, all that is dark in August as well. So we wouldn't be able to do something like that. It would have to be nonprofit outreach. Yes, Member Birdwell.
No. I was just gonna ask, what about like CCTA? Are they not going to, and like, you know what I mean? Like, it's awfully soon. And why are we just hearing about this right now?
I will say partially it is our staffing challenges of not having any staff to be handling any of this right now. So Jenna and I have been talking and trying to make sure that it was at least on this agenda.
So what if it's a partnership between a nonprofit organization and CCTA? Can the nonprofit organization's board of directors have the resolution?
The partnership would have to be reflected in a sub-recipient, relationship. The entity applying with the resolution would then have to go through some sort of, not a procurement process with the state, but would have to make sure that they're following those rules to have a partner doing the functions that the funding is intended for.
Can we go ahead and schedule a special meeting and ask you to be in attendance?
Absolutely, it's part of my job.
Who would be at this meeting if we don't know what agencies? Because it sounds like here, there's nobody here on this committee that represents an agency that would be applying.
Well, my board is dark, but that doesn't mean I don't have to come to work, so, I'll be here.
But
But
you still won't be applying, you still can't get board resolution at this moment, right?
I need to speak with my agency about it, but
Okay.
realistically, that is a pretty huge challenge.
Sorry, Member Birdwell.
I just wanted to ask, realistically, would CCTA be able to apply? If you could get everything in a row, ducks in a row? Because if not, then what's the point? Yeah. I know you love my question.
It's a very good question. I have been considering myself because I don't anticipate our new staff to be on board until end of August, the very earliest. And that's like a week turnaround.
And if your board is dark,
And
you
our
don't
board
have a
is dark.
board, right?
Yeah, the unfortunate part is that this is this little tiny window that then we're pushed out another 3 years until the next time. All bad timing. Consultant, maybe.
I'm just gonna say, if ARC, for example, so we call for a special PCC, I'm gonna walk through a scenario. We call for a special PCC meeting first week of August, and we get the list from Drennan of all the 5310 applicants in Contra Costa County, send them an invitation to the meeting, and have an open discussion about what it would entail, and are there any nonprofit organizations that would be willing to submit a grant in partnership with CCTA, CCCTA, AC Trans, whatever. I mean, I don't want to call out anything before we have a conversation about it, but it would be having the conversation. So we can either say, no, we're going to shut the door on $500,000 for mobility management for the next 2 years, or we would say, let's have a educated, detailed conversation with people in the room who could possibly apply for it.
So gathering people and asking them to apply for it.
Well, seeing if there's interest, seeing if there's the capacity to do that, seeing what kind of structure it would be. So Danielle, to me, you would have a conversation with Tim before that meeting, or Tim would come to the meeting. Like, decision makers would need to be at the meeting, or the folks on the PCC would need to be informed by their decision makers so that we could have an informed conversation about it. But I think just saying no to that funding and closing the door for 3 years is kind of a sad statement. And I also take on too much.
Just my 2 cents, but I do think we owe it to all of our constituencies to have the conversation at the very least. I think the idea of a nonprofit submitting an application in partnership with a public agency whose board is dark presents some challenges, because the public agency board presumably has to sort of agree to the partnership. However, that doesn't mean staff can't be involved in helping to coordinate and clear things out of the way and whatever. I don't know what we can do, but I think at the end of the day, I would like to be able to have said that whatever it is we can do, we did, or at least we tried.
There's also ways to demonstrate support, through letters on the application, so.
By chairs of the board of public entities who aren't dark.
But if it's in partnership with CCTA and CCTA is dark, is it a moot point?
Right, I guess what I'm saying is Ken Carlson may not be out of the country in the month and could write a letter of support, and he sits on X board, or, like, I'm just making this up. Just pulled his name out because his name tag was sitting out. But I'm just saying, like, just because the board of a public entity is not gathering for a meeting doesn't mean that there aren't board members who could write a letter of support in the concept, right? Am I making
Agreed.
that up? Okay.
But, okay. Mr. Brush.
Drennan, can MTC talk to Caltrans and say, can we get an additional 30-day on your deadline? I mean, that would be, that'd solve a lot of problems.
I have done that. The response I got back was that they were not going to do that. I can continue to ask, though.
Can we invite Valerie, what's her name, to our special meeting?
Please.
I don't know that I would recommend that.
Are there any other counties that are in the same situation of timing and issues as us?
I mean, lots of entities are in the same position, but they've made changes to their schedules. Yeah.
Yes.
I will do what I
Member
can
Birdwell.
to figure out what our options are.
Okay. Member Birdwell?
I was just gonna say, I guess that means we need to have the meeting like now.
And I guess my question was, is there a point in having a meeting if we can't get a board resolution, if we're inviting nonprofits to come in and partner with CCTA, but CCTA can't meet and get a board resolution, which means that's not going to be an application. So,
Oh, it is. Drennan said it could be that so you have the nonprofit board resolution that's approved, and there's intent and partnership language, and then you have to follow the structure of whatever that is. You do not need the partnering agency or the subrecipient agency to have the board resolution. The nonprofit that's driving the application can have the resolution. Am I wrong?
No, and then, but I just want to make sure everyone understands, though, then the relationship is between the nonprofit and Caltrans, so the funding flows that way. But, you know, I think my recommendation would be to see what CCTA could pull off. I would explore every option on the table before trying to go the nonprofit route, but, I mean, CCTA is the most likely entity, I think, with the plan, the ATS, so that would be my recommendation.
So at least by the meeting, maybe Danielle will have some answers.
or if Danielle, if it's a no, do we have a meeting? I guess by the way, I'm totally willing to meet. Please, let me make that, but you know what I'm saying? I don't want to schedule a meeting and have it be for naught and bring these people in when there isn't really an option moving forward.
Agree with that. I think if there's a possibility of getting an application in, then it makes sense to meet, and if there's not, then it really doesn't.
Well, because of our time constraint, I don't think we have time for that, so we could do a meeting, and then she can tell us. If it's a no, then we can cancel it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Is there not value in just knowing who is going to be applying and coordinating that anyways?
Sure. And what we're doing as a board is encouraging it? Yeah. We're inviting those agencies in and encouraging them to apply. Okay. Sounds like then, yes.
In speaking with the board clerk, she mentioned that, yeah, we could host a special meeting for the PCC, and then we could bring the board back for a special meeting as well in August.
CCTA
The authority board.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think then the next is that we'll be setting up a special meeting and check your emails. Are you saying we should set that now? Why not? I don't know if everybody has their calendars.
Have you seen what we put Deanna through in the past?
I'm gonna go.
If you love your staff people, do it now.
August 7? Okay.
What about August 4th at our regularly scheduled time, 2 o'clock on Monday, August 4th?
That conflicts directly with the Senior Mobility Action Council.
To heck with them, they can come have their meeting here. No, just kidding. No, they meet at 9 o'clock now, don't they, in the morning?
1 p.m., yeah, is what I got.
Oh, Candace moved it to 1
Right.
o'clock.
I only know that because they asked us to come and present.
As you should. What about 3 o'clock?
Could you even make it?
Is it
Yeah.
possible to get
can
from
present and
wherever
run.
here? I think I can move that mountain.
Yeah? Everybody else? 3
August 4th?
o'clock on August 4th.
I am not available.
So with the people here, then we wouldn't have a quorum. Okay. So then we're back
Do
to.
you have an alternate? Can you work on one?
The person that I would work on is also out. We're both on vacation.
And we have, what, 4 or 5 members that are not here today?
Something like that. Quite a few.
So can we tentatively schedule at that time and reach out and see who's available? Does that work?
That works. Yeah, we're missing Thompson, who usually is always here, Ibarra, and Green Roselle, and she also has a alternate, so.
Okay.
We should meet quorum.
So that's the tentative, Monday, August 4th, 3 p.m. here.
Don't do it much later, because I'll be out of the area later.
Oh, okay, much later than that date. Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay. The meeting of miracles. We'll do that. August 4th.
I fly back in from the East Coast that morning, so hopefully nothing happens with my flight.
Between now and August 4, what will we be doing on this? Any thoughts?
I think probably Drennan can provide some information that Deanna can distribute to the PCC that will give us some more background on the 5310 application, what mobility management constitutes, what the amount of funding is that's available, and I think it would be helpful for Danielle to maybe provide us the information that we have thus far in the accessible transportation strategic plan related to mobility management, so we can do a little bit of homework before our next meeting. It's in the packet, girlfriend. It is in the packet. It's the CCTA website. Love you, CCTA. Makes it a little bit convoluted, but when you go into the agenda, it tells you that there's an attachment, and then you have to click on that, but it doesn't get you the attachment. It drops down another menu, which you then have to find, and then you click on that, and then you get the attachment.
I am so glad that I sit next to you.
Yeah, if you go to the HTML and then click on the item, you can see the attachment.
Click, 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 click. Boom. There it is. Okay, got it.
All right. Do we have any other future agenda items, dare I ask? Okay. Well, there's that. Other things that I would like to talk about in, not necessarily the next meeting, but coming up, is we obviously have some people to replace on our board. And then we've talked about, working towards doing some type of outreach, which again would be great at a special meeting with a whole bunch of nonprofits that know a whole bunch of people that have, that use transportation, to also maybe talk about that and talk about the spaces that we do have on the board and the representation that we would like to have on this board. So, see some different faces. Not that everybody here is not one lovely and wonderful, but I do know we've always tried to grow this board. I don't know, I know that's a lot to ask, it may not be that, but I think that does need to be a future agenda item, so that we can all talk about it, really kind of understand what the needs are, kind of have that discussion.
So Deanna's going to be working on recruiting packets as we transition to the AAC. So
Yes.
that will be our next big effort in getting the recruiting going, so that we can then be ready by the end of the year, new members, new subcommittees, and get a better start for next year.
Great. So it was already on future items, great.
Yeah, and maybe a staffing and accessible transportation strategic plan update.
Absolutely. We are in the process of hiring for the 2 positions right now, so we'll definitely be introducing the new staff at a future meeting, and talk about the work plan that they're going to have, as well as hopefully planning for some workshops in the later fall, once they're on board, where we can do a lot more kind of brainstorming and collaborative work to figure out what our focus is going to be for the next year, 2 years with Measure X.
And I would like to add on that, and we've talked about it, but just kind of keep it on the agenda, is what we're talking about, doing a forum with the actual providers regarding the claim form. As like in, so getting all the different providers involved to say, this works, this doesn't work, or this is really burdensome, or I don't understand this, you know, whatever it is, so that we can get that. And I know that we've talked about it, I just kind of wanted to bring it up here as something for the future. So then that way, you know, all the providers know ahead of time what's coming in, is able to kind of provide that. Because in the past, changes have definitely been made, but they've been kind of, honestly, I think, made in a vacuum, and then kind of presented, and then there's lots of questions behind, well, why specifically this? Like, what are you really trying, you know, to measure? So while we have done changes almost every year to the claim form, it almost feels repetitive. But I feel like it just needs to be a more collaborative process in making changes to the claim form. So then, of course, maybe we don't have to do that for another 2 to 3 years. We can leave it because we've done this great collaborative process, and, you know, we have something a little more solid for future agenda items. Anything else? I saw a hand go up. No? Okay. Yes. Oh, you were turning it off. Oh, all right. Well, then that does conclude our meeting. We will now adjourn this meeting in honor and memory of past Vice Chair Othello Smith. This meeting is adjourned at 3:11 p.m.
Recording stopped.